Selena actually first sees Chaol. He was meeting with a Robin. So, the moment I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, is this the moment they're gonna reunite?
No.
It's gonna happen, eyes will lock, feelings gonna come rushing back. No. Yeah, no, it did not go that way at all. Hey guys, Nina here and welcome back to More Than Fiction. So today we're discussing Queen of Shadows, the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series, and of course Eva is joining me again. Say hi, Eva.
Hi.
So let's just dive right in, but of course first be warned, there will be spoilers for this entire book and for the books, of course, prior to this one, but not for the other one, so don't worry about that. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right in, let's jump in. Eva, let me know your brief opinion of this book. How did you like it? Just a general one.
I would like to state this on camera.
Okay.
You knew, you lied, you were hyping me up, which I knew was wrong, but
I don't know what you're talking
my
about.
shipping. So, Chaol and Aelin now, right?
Aelin, yeah, she's Aelin now.
It's happening! In this book, I mean, you could see it in the previous book, it was not gonna be happening, because it was like a journey to get over him, but now in this book, I was like, God fucking damn it. I keep closing the tab on my phone and wanting to throw my phone, but then I remember my phone is too pricey to be thrown. I was just like, motherfucking damn it. So yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to say.
I mean, I never lied to you. I just said that you never know what's gonna happen. And in the series, you truly never know. It's unpredictable. That's all I said. And yeah.
And you were laughing the whole time and I was like, this bitch knows this is not gonna happen.
See? So it's like if you were delusional, it's on you.
But I was delusional. No!
Yeah, it's on you because I was pretty obvious, I think. I think everyone who watched these past few episodes or, listened to them, they knew. And you're just like the Lulu. And it's fine. Look, when I'm into a ship, when I'm into a certain couple, into a certain idea, I can be very stubborn too, and I, don't want to see what's right in front of me. So I don't blame you. I think that after the third book, when we met Rowan, the first time I read this, I was the same as you. I was also just like delusional. I was really hoping for the best. I was hoping that somehow she would see Chaol and all the feelings would come rushing back,
Oh, talk about a reunion though.
We'll get to that later, but on that note, I just wanted to say that I really, really did kind of believe that, and I thought that maybe we were gonna get a love triangle, and I don't really like love triangles, but in this case, I was just kind of disappointed we didn't get to see one because I felt like she just moved on from Chaol so fast. So I felt for my boy Chaol. I was like, well, poor Chaol, like she literally just doesn't care anymore. This is just depressing. Yeah, let's just start off with Aelin. So Aelin is Aelin now. Selena is gone, and I feel like this was brilliant on Sarah J. Maas's part. She literally changed the main character. She renamed the main character. It's crazy. Like, it's insane. Even personality-wise, it's different.
But
like,
it makes
brilliant.
sense. It
of
makes
course
sense.
It does.
It was like Selena was a persona she used to get through the tough times she had to go through.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a persona that Robin created. I mean, she created when she was training under Robin. I don't know the prequels, so this is me assuming based on the information given.
You can. I think this is a healthy assumption. Like Selena tells us as much, and Aelin tells us as much. She needed to be Selena to survive, essentially. And I think, what she went through with Robin was difficult and hard, but it made her into the person she is now. So, you have to look at it that way, I think. And Selena is now back in Rifthold. And she has a plan. Like, the moment we see her, she tells us that she was, like, the entire way back on the ship. She was scheming, she was plotting, and she has this, like, plan to meet with Robin. And this is actually the first time we meet Robin. If you haven't, like, read the prequel, this is the first time you see him, you get his description, like, everything. You see how he is, the way he acts. So that was interesting. And Selena actually first sees Chaol. He was meeting with Robin. So, the moment I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, is this the moment they're gonna reunite?
No.
It's gonna happen, eyes will lock, feelings gonna come rushing back. No. Yeah, no, it did not go that way at all. So let's, I guess, just Robin. What did you think about him?
Well, he was mentioned before in the previous books, but it never goes into detail. It does mention that he betrays her in the previous books.
Yes.
So we do find out that betrayal also lead to Sam's death.
Yes.
And also led to her being enslaved in the mines.
Yeah, pretty big betrayal.
So basically, you don't have a favorable opinion about this guy at all.
Nope, you don't.
But now, getting it through this description and also getting to know more about him and his courtesan called
Lysandra?
Lysandra, yes, thank you for the naming. Sarah J. Maas, what the fuck, the names again, I can't, but okay. Lysandra, and then also a bit of her story, which is also interesting. I find it interesting. Supposedly she was also mentioned in the prequel, right?
She is a part of the prequel as well.
Yeah,
yes.
so this is the first time I hear of her.
Yes.
And based on all of that, the already not favorable picture of Robin goes even lower. Like, if Hal had a basement, this was it, the opinion of him.
Yeah.
It just goes down.
Yeah. What I want to say here is that, of course, I also had, like, an awful opinion of Robin. I knew he was, like, the villain, you know, in her story and everything, but I didn't, like, hate him as much. You know, I found him to be intriguing and kind of charming because I didn't read the prequel. Once you read the prequel, you're like, I hate this dude. Like, I literally hate him. And, you know that he has a say in Sam's death. But thing is that if you didn't read the prequel, you don't know Sam. So still, of course, you feel for this boy. And if Selena loved him the way she did and the way she describes him, like he was a real sweet boy, you know? And he was young. He was, 16? Of course you feel for him. But when you meet him, you know, in the prequel and you see what an angel he was and then you see what a Robin did. And in this book, we find out that he literally, like, wrote what the guy that was torturing Sam, what he has to do. Like, literally what techniques he has to use to, you know, kill Sam. You know, that's another level. And you just understand what kind of a disgusting human being this is.
Very manipulative.
Of course. I mean, he's the king of assassins, so of course. It also mentions when Selena is talking to him, she says, like, in her thought process in this book, you can see how messed up it is because she's like, this man, you know, for a while, I didn't even know if I should call him father, lover, or something else. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, you can tell how the lines are messed up. Like, she didn't know in her relationship to him if she, like, should look at him as a father figure, if there's gonna be eventually something more between them, or if he's like a boss or something, you know? So that's already messed up.
Very good emotional manipulation on his part.
Yes, very good emotional manipulation.
But he overplayed his hand. He was a bit too overconfident in his role and the way he could manipulate things around him. And didn't think that anyone would be able to outsmart him.
I mean, I think actually for such a calculating person, I think in the end his emotions got the best of him. You know, his ego.
Right.
His ego.
Right.
Because he killed Sam because he didn't stand the fact that Selena could care more about him. Because for a while he had her wrapped around his little finger. You know, she did love a Robin. And essentially when he dies eventually in this book, there's still a part of her that actually feels bad. You know, because this is still someone who raised her, who trained her. If it wasn't for him, she would be, I don't know where, dead. Somewhere in the sewers, dead.
Probably dead. He gave her the skills to survive, and he gave her the skills that were needed to get to the place that she is now being able to go, and to see the people that she is able to meet, and so on.
Yeah.
So basically, without him, she wouldn't be who she is today.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, he did prepare her for queendom, I guess.
Yeah. In a way.
Let's not give him too much credit because he had his own selfish motivation.
Of course, it was never selfless.
It was never selfless. But credit where credit is due, he did help. And he did also fuck up her.
Yeah, he fucked her up big time.
He fucked up her person.
I mean, to me, the most disgusting part was the fact that she couldn't distinguish if he was her dad or if he was her lover. You know, literally, that tells you, like, a lot. So this is something, like, if I would read this out of context, I would literally think that this is, like, a lover speaking to someone that he wants to get back. So basically, tell me what I must do to atone. Tell me to crawl over hot coals, to sleep on a bed of nails, to carve up my flesh. Say the word and it is done. But let me care for you as I once did, before that madness poisoned my heart. Punish me, torture me, wreck me, but let me help you. Do this small thing for me and let me lay the world at your feet. And I'm just like, if I would read this out of context, I would think this is like like a hot relationship. You know what I mean? I would actually find this hot. Like, oh my gosh, he wronged her, now he wants to get her back. Hot. But then you really realize that this is someone who like raised her and, you know, who was a father figure for a while, and she was like literally a kid when he met her. And then there's like even a segment where, you know, he like touches her ass or something, and he like looks at her like very desirable, and that's just so gross. You know, he's like such a predator. So at the end of the day,
it was very good emotional manipulation. Like very, very good. Credit where credit is due.
I mean, from that point of view, as an audience, I find these kinds of characters intriguing, like these kinds of villains, because yeah, like she said, it is good manipulation, and therefore it doesn't make him complex. He's not like, there isn't a shred of him that's good, but it's interesting to read about those kind of people because you never know what they're gonna do next, and that makes them good villains. So the first time I read this, actually, I was kind of sad that he died as fast as he did, because it would be interesting to get more of him and to see more of his scheming and stuff.
But did you ever think that he would be redeemable?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I actually...
Really?
Yeah, he charmed me. He got me sometimes. Like, you know, I don't know, sometimes when he told her that he cares for her, I actually wanted to believe him.
But did you? You were like, part of you were actually believed him?
No, part of me wanted to believe him, and I kind of thought that, you know, in my head the king was the ultimate evil, you know? In my head the king was the one that was like evil, irredeemable, and we're never gonna get a redemption story from him. So I thought maybe a Robin is different. Maybe a Robin's gonna be that complex character that kind of has some kind of good in him, that Sarah's gonna go that route to make it more interesting, because why would she give us like two just plain evil characters, right? But no, it was actually the other way around.
You really liked his way of speaking, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
That's what got to you.
Yeah, and like I said before, when I read this the first time, I also didn't read the prequel. So I went into this blind. I didn't know, you know, like, sure, it's different when Selena describes this to you, what happened. It's different when you actually kind of live it, you know, through with her in that prequel. So when you do, that's why I would recommend to read the prequel. Okay, yeah, and what did you think about his death? Let's just jump right to that part.
I think for what he did and the way he played, I think he got off easily.
Yeah, that was my yeah.
If that was me,
yeah,
I would. It was a smart way to do it, but if that was me, I wouldn't make him suffer.
Yeah.
Forget about time frame, other plans. I would have taken my time, because you clearly took your time with me.
Yeah.
And the manipulation of how I am going to turn out from Aelin's point of view, right?
Yeah.
And what she thought, what she thinks of relationships, and he played such a key role. I would have taken my time.
And what he did to Sam, I mean, he took his time with Sam. So, no, I think he got off easy too. Like, he literally kind of died in his sleep. You know, in a way. And even that, I actually kind of hope that Aelin was going to be the one to kill him. You know, because I love Lysandra, don't get me wrong. And I think she's gone through a lot with him too. But, you know, we've been following Aelin for so long. We are attached more to her. We know her more. We know her struggle more. And as much as we feel for Lysandra, Aelin is still that primary character, you know, that we root for, and we want to get, like, that she gets, like, this justice for herself. So I was kind of, you know, I actually hope that she would, like, look him in the eyes and do whatever she wants to do.
I really like, this is gonna be so cliche, but I really like the monologuing when the injured party gets to be powerful, and just stares down at you and be like, you fucked up, and then describes every single way you fucked up, and then kills you.
Yes, I live for those moments in books and in TV shows.
Yes.
Exactly. Because it's just so satisfying, you know? And here we didn't get that. You know, even from Lysandra's point of view, we just heard that she slit his throat and blood was everywhere, and that's it. And she even tells Aelin that she kind of regrets not being able to tell him that this was like their job, that like they work together, you know? And I just kind of, you know, I wanted that.
But on the other hand, right? He is still like the king of assassins. In a way, maybe they were also afraid that if he sees it... I mean, he was clearly focused on Aelin. So, in a way, that's why he never saw Lysandra coming.
Exactly. No, I understand why they did it the way they did. I think it was smart.
Yes, it was very smart. But
From a reader's point of view.
But props from them, because they had to put their emotions aside to make it this clean.
Exactly.
And this fast.
Yeah. And from that point of view, again, makes sense. But from a reader's point of view, selfishly...
Unsatisfying.
Yes.
Unsatisfying.
Yeah, you wanted it to hit harder, because that man, evil incarnate, okay?
He deserved a more painful death.
Yes. And a confrontation, like...
Yeah, to get the control back. But I think at that point, she didn't get the control fully back. She was still, in the dialogue, you still see her struggling with it.
Yep.
So, but it
bittersweet.
It was bittersweet, but when it comes to the plot in the book, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and also, I mean, she says it like that she doesn't. I don't know. I think it's Rowan or someone who asks her like, does she regret it not being the one that did it? And she says that she doesn't. And as long as she's at peace with it, that's ultimately everything that matters. You know what I mean?
No, not really. My satisfaction matters as well as a reader, but okay, sure, yeah, let's go with that.
So we got a Robin out of the way, I guess. I mean, we're still gonna be mentioning him since he helped with certain plans along the way. I mean, when Selena met up with him, they basically agreed that she gave him some information about the keys, not all of it, just some. And she also told him that she's gonna give him like a Valk, so that he can torture him and get some information out of him. But at the same time, he helped her with the plan how to rescue Aelin. And that was a pretty good plan, if I'm like, let's be honest, and it worked and it was really good. The action, everything was so amazing. And I mean, now let's jump right to Chaol and Selena. We've already been mentioning them. Now let's dive right into it. I guess Chaol, so he's now working with Nesrin and the rebels. He's basically like a leader of the rebels, one of the leaders. Nesrin is like his second in command, you could say. They basically free people through the tunnels. Like, that's all that he can do right now with the resources that he has. And Selena, she basically follows the Robin's advice. He kind of tells her where she can find him, and she goes down the tunnels and she meets up with Nesrin. Nesrin leads her to Chaol. And that's when the confrontation happens. And it was just so... Like, the moment their eyes meet and she's like... He's just as I remember him. Still that rugged handsomeness, the tan face. But he doesn't smile when he looks at her.
You know when you get your hopes up, but then they start talking, and then your hopes down. I mean,
let's go step by step. Because, yeah, when they met up, it was pretty, like, normal. The reaction was kind of, they were a bit awkward, everything like you expect that, right? When you meet an ex and you don't really know what to do with yourself, that was it, and it was kind of...
But was he... Well, okay, so he was an ex. They didn't part at best ways, but I
no, they didn't.
It could still be happen. It's not like it's the end.
Yeah, that's what I was telling myself too. And Selena, when she spotted him in with a Robin, she spotted Nesrin too, and she was like wondering, who is that girl with him? And then when I saw that, there was a part of me that hoped that she's jealous. I was like, ooh, so she might be jealous of this Nesrin person. At the end, it didn't pan. She wasn't jealous at all. Like, literally, she was no jealousy, zero jealousy. I was so mad about that. But I mean, it like spiraled out of control so fast that you knew. Basically, they went on a walk, okay? And Aelin told him everything, what happened with her and all of that. And oh my gosh, Chaol's response, you guys. Can I just please read this? It's gonna be hard, okay? So just let's power through this.
Yeah, shit really hit the fan here. I did not want it to go this
way.
Oh
no, it was actually... It's not Chaol's response first. First, he noticed her empty finger where the ring should have been the one he gifted her. And there's like... But then Chaol looked to the empty finger where his amethyst ring had once been. The skin was soaked with the blood that had seeped in through the fabric. Chaol gazed at that empty spot, and when his eyes rose to hers again, it became hard to breathe. When he noticed that ring, that it's gone, my heart just like fell into my stomach. I was so sad about that. Because that ring meant so much to him, and this is like such a sign immediately, like what's happening. He immediately knows that.
In retrospect, in the last book, we should also see her giving that ring away as a sign as well.
She always got it back. That was just a sign that she didn't know what to do. It wasn't a clear sign that she's
it could have been an Easter egg.
Yeah. Okay, actually, Aelin is the first one to react negatively. Basically, when he tells her about Sorsha and Dorian, right, what happened, and she's like, well, she doesn't say this to his face. She doesn't say it, but she thinks it. You should have gotten Dorian and Sorsha out the day the king butchered those slaves. Did you learn nothing from Nehemiah's death? Did you somehow think you could win with your honor intact without sacrificing something? You shouldn't have left him. How could you let him face the king alone? How could you? How could you? How could you?
I think she's still not over the Nehemiah death. Even though she's
projecting.
She's like, I made peace with it. I moved on. No, you did not.
Yeah.
Clearly you did not, because this is the same thing, just different people.
It's eating her up, and I also think she's kind of projecting her own guilt onto him. Because
yeah,
she was also gone. She also didn't send word, because Chaol actually asks her in their confrontation, did you ever think, like even once, to send word about these colors, about these rings, what's happening, so we would know and be prepared? Yeah. And she actually thinks to herself, well, shit, no, I didn't, and I could have, you know? So I feel like she also has a lot of guilt about what's happening, and also about Nehemiah. Still, you know, she doesn't blame just Chaol, she blames herself. And now she's kind of projecting this onto him, like...
He's an easier target than...
Of course. It's human, you can't blame her for that. And I mean, she doesn't state this here immediately out loud, this is her thought process.
Still damning.
Mm-hmm. And she asks him at one point, what have you heard about Dorian since you fled? And he's like, a flicker of shame is in his eyes because the word fled is key here, and he does think to himself, well, that's the truth, I did flee. And you know, I thought here to myself, that's a bit unfair again. Yeah, sure, he ran, but at the same time, like, that was the best thing he could have done in the situation. Like, if he stayed there, he would have gotten killed, and then no one would
fight another day.
Exactly.
Make a strategic retreat.
Exactly. It's a strategic retreat, literally. Like, if he stayed there, he would have just died. What chance does he have against the king and his guards? Like, zero. And we found this out very clear in this book too.
Also, he was a normal human with no powers.
Exactly.
Also, not that many battle prowess. I mean, okay, he was in battles, but the time he slayed his first... I mean, even comparing him to Aelin and when she was an assassin, without any of her powers, just being an assassin, he was like low tier.
Exactly. So that was unfair, and I was actually mad at Aelin here a little bit. Like, that's, what are you talking, girl? Oh my gosh. Before Chaol responds with his awful commentary, this is such a good moment when she feels the shock when Chaol tells her about the collar that Dorian is wearing. He doesn't know what the collar really means. She asks him, did they report him wearing a black ring? And Chaol's like, no, not a ring. But one of the spies claimed that Dorian has a torque of black stone around his neck. A weird stone color. For a moment, all Aelin could manage to do was stare at Chaol. The surrounding buildings pressed on her, a giant pit opening beneath the cobblestone she walked upon, threatening to swallow her whole. And I'm just like, the shock she must feel in this moment, literally, because in her head, you know, a color, it's like, that's it. Dorian, he's gone. He's literally gone. So I just felt for her here. She couldn't even respond normally.
Oh, she could.
I mean, yeah, but...
And once again, projecting.
But first, he responds here. And he says... I hated Chaol in this moment, I think. I mean, you came back, but without an army, without allies. You came back empty-handed. And she's like, empty-handed. I don't know what you expected. You sent me to Wendelin. If you'd wanted me to bring back an army, you should have been a little bit more specific. He says, do you understand what it was like for us here? While you were off playing with magic, off gallivanting with your fairy prince. Do you understand what happened to me, to Dorian? Do you understand what's happening every day in the city? Because your antics in Wendelin might very well have been the cause of all of this. And she's like, my antics? And he's like, if you hadn't been so dramatic about it, hadn't flaunted your defeat of Narok and practically shouted at the king that you were back, he would have never called us to that room. And she's like, you do not get to blame me for that, for his actions. Which is, very true.
They were both projecting. They were both in a negative headspace, and then she started it, and then it just spiraled.
Out of control.
And then it wasn't even understanding. It was just like, oh, you're blaming me? No, I'm blaming you. No, how are you blaming me if I'm blaming you? And then it just all went to shit.
It was just, this was so difficult to read. I was like in shock. I did not see this coming. I
wanted to throw my phone away.
Same. I wanted to throw my Kindle away. It was just awful. And It felt like two siblings fighting, honestly. This felt like siblings.
To use siblings to me, it was like lovers that are never gonna be back together ever. It was like that ex that was like, no, it was your fault. No, it was your fault. You fucked up. No, what do you mean?
Maybe at the beginning, but when throughout the book, it sometimes felt like siblings fighting. Literally just for stupid little things that siblings fight about.
To me, it was like exes.
Okay. Well, I mean, whatever. Just like stupid fights all the time. And then Aelin, of course, she's so pissed and mad, and she snaps back and she's like, that color Dorian is wearing, let me tell you what it does. And let's see if you refuse to tell me then, if you dismiss what I've been doing these past months. With every word, his face further drained of color. A small, wicked part of her reveled in it. And I'm just like, a small wicked... I understand that, because when you're hurt and when you're angry at someone, you actually want them
to feel that pain more.
I understood her here. But it was so difficult to read again. And, you know, eventually he, like, throws her the necklace that he was wearing around his neck that she gave him. The eye of whatever. And this is where I just know that this went to shit real fast. And then she gives him, like, the ring. And he tells her that perhaps they're better off without magic. Because magic just causes such an unfair...
advantage and also pain.
Yeah. And then she, like, again, snaps back and has a good point. So Dorian is allowed to have magic. You can come to terms with his power, and yet my power is an abomination to you. Dorian has never killed anyone. Dorian didn't gut Archer Finn in the tunnels, or torture and kill Grave and then chop him up into pieces. Dorian didn't go on a killing spree at Endorian that left dozens dead.
He didn't get over that.
And it's not even the fact, what is there to get over? Like, she killed people who literally deserved it. They were awful human beings.
He was not used to killing people. And he was a guard. I find this so fascinating. He was a guard, but he wasn't used to killing people. And he was serving a king known for imprisoning people.
Exactly.
I mean,
he was serving a king.
What high ground were you walking on?
Exactly.
What delusion were you thinking?
Yeah, he served a king who killed dozens, millions of innocent people, and yet he blames her.
Yeah, and yet he had a high ground. What high ground?
Yeah.
What high ground?
So, so at the end, when I, like, draw a line here, as much as Aelin also annoyed me with certain comments, I feel like Chaol was just awful here.
Yeah, but I think he was still in his...
Stop defending him!
Healing... No, but you have to look at also from his point of view and how he was taught. I think he was still clinging a bit to his old views because he couldn't accept...
like you just said, he had no ground to cling to these views.
Yeah,
he literally has
but you have to understand, as a person, you want to cling to safety. Yeah? Even if it's dumb, even if it's stupid, you want to cling to what you know, because if you don't, you have to change everything. You have to admit truths that you did not want to admit. Some things are not nice to realize. So it's better for some people to live in a lie than actually see the truth. Which is why some people are so adverse to being told, hey, you fucked up, that's not how it is.
But I don't know, like, compare him to Dorian. Dorian also lived a lie his entire life. He was basically raised in this environment by a father. Different. And he still never got to the point where he was so blindly loyal to his dad.
It's different because Dorian didn't wear his pride as a captain of the guard, as being honorable. He didn't have pride in that as much. Chaol's whole identity was based on that fact. Mm. That he got away from his family and he achieved something on his own, and it was honorable. He was protecting the king, doing something for the kingdom. He was doing it with pride because then he created this whole identity and he had a moral compass, right? Mm-hmm. And he had to make it moral, so his identity had to be the good person, right?
Yeah.
Even if he was serving a shit king and so on.
Yeah.
So he had to justify it in a way. Mm-hmm. And this is him still clinging to that safety net that's already fucking gone.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I understand that, and I always had that in the back of my head, I didn't like fully hate him like some do.
Yeah, you still just want to fucking punch him in the
face.
face.
Exactly. Still, like, throughout this entire book, I was actually so impressed by Aelin's self-control. It's like, I would have gutted this man so many pages ago already. Like, I can't. Respect for this girl that she could, like, literally contain herself.
Yeah, and this is when my ship died.
Yeah.
Because he didn't evolve quick enough. And she evolved too quickly.
Yeah, and she met someone who did get her. Yeah, she met someone who did, Ugh.
So it's not a new love interest, but it's continuing from the previous book. I fucking knew it.
Yeah. Well, okay, now let's move a little bit ahead and we'll come back to Chaol probably again. So basically now, they're doing their thing, but of course the goal here is to free Aelin. She eventually learns that Aelin has been imprisoned by the king, right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know who tells her this, but I do remember that when she finds out, she's like completely in shock. She can't believe it, and it's so interesting to read it from her point of view and Aelin's point of view, because in her head she's like, Aelin probably won't even like the person I am now, because she's so disgusted by some of the things she did, by the person she has become, that she's sure that Aelin isn't gonna like be in her corner. While he's thinking the same way, he's like, will she even understand that I've been Aderlan's whore because I had to be, or will she blame me for all of this? Will she be disgusted by me? The same thing.
Very caught in their own thinking, bad about their actions and their decisions.
It's so sad. And Aelin, when he's like in the basement, he's literally injured and he's dying, and he doesn't tell anyone about the infection because he doesn't want to give the king the chance to catch Aelin, because that's the plan, this big executions rescue.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap, and it's broadcasted that way because it was meant to be a trap.
Yeah, exactly. And Aelin, he doesn't want that, and it's so sad when you read it from his perspective, and he's like saying,
he still wants to protect her.
Yeah, and he's like, hopefully she doesn't come back, hopefully, I die before she's back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was sad. And another POV that was super sad was Dorian's. Oh my god. That was
not sad, that was depressing.
But interesting. I really liked his chapters. I liked that we got glimpses into what's going on with him, and I feel like it was the right balance. We didn't get too much of that.
Yeah, and
but just every once in a while, so that we don't forget that he's still there and that he's still battling.
Genius, how still mentioning him to keep in the back of your mind, this guy is still here.
Yeah, and he's, So
and
I love that.
Still have hope for him in that way. But I want to go back to Aelin and the rescue attempt.
Yeah. I want to focus on that now. So basically the plan is that Aelin kind of smuggles herself in with this dance crew, like ballerinas or something. She used to also dance with this teacher and rescue Aelin. We're not gonna dive too deep into details, but it was an interesting sequence,
It was
right?
an interesting sequence, an interesting plan, and I have to tell you, I thought it was not gonna work.
Really? You thought it was gonna fail?
I usually, when they hype things up and they make it optimistic, they make it fail, so you feel devastated. And somebody usually always dies.
Okay.
So I was fully prepared that Aelin is gonna die. I was gonna be like, okay, they're gonna try, they're gonna almost get captured, her cousin's gonna die, and then there's gonna be a whole arc about that.
Okay, I get that, but I didn't think that because I thought, the author was really hyping it up. Like, Aelin, what he thinks, what Aelin thinks, their entire reunion, I guess. So I thought it was gonna fall really flat if now he just died.
Oh,
so
but it would have been so more dramatic, though. Imagine the feeling.
Unsatisfying, though. Like, if you're gonna kill him off, I thought she was gonna kill him off if she did, like, at the end of the book. But first she would, like, give us a little bit of something.
Oh, so to give you hope and then kill it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I thought this was gonna work, and I'm happy that it did. And just that entire sequence, and even like that conversation she had with the ballerina teacher. There's a moment when that teacher like tells her that she will flee, but eventually when Aelin gets back her throne, that she will come back and she will bring music and art with her. And this is like a really important part of these books because Sarah J. Maas, I think she graduated from art, you know?
Really? I didn't
so
know that.
In every book, she kind of incorporates art into it. She makes a big deal out of it. Like, for example, in the previous book, when the orchestra died because they sacrificed themselves, about music and all of that, she always kind of has like a little bit of a tidbit in there. So I really like that part. But yeah, I thought like the reunion between Aelin and Celaena was beautiful. And when he was like still trapped there, and when he noticed her. Like first he noticed the ballerina that had like these tattoos, and he was like, well, that's weird. Ballerinas, they don't have tattoos. And then he saw that she went somewhere, and then she emerged back as like a guard. She was dressed differently, and she was like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? This moment. But the dancer looked up at Aelin beneath lowered brows. Even disguised as an aristo man, there was wicked, vicious triumph in her turquoise and gold eyes. Behind them, across the hall, the dancers shattered their roses on the floor, and Aelin grinned at his queen as the entire world went to hell.
That was masterfully done.
It was so good, watching it, like, I'm getting goosebumps. I have no hair, but I'm getting goosebumps. It's so fucking good. Oh my god. Okay. And then, yeah, it was so good because then she kind of has to drag him along. He's still kind of hurt. And then Lysandra comes to the rescue with her carriage and they, like, hide him. Then there's the reunion when they're in her room. And she basically tells him, like, they have this honest conversation. And she asks him, like, are you ashamed of me or something? And he's like, how could I ever be ashamed of you? You know, I love you just the way you are. And it's so wholesome. And she cries and he cries. And
I was
it's just...
very happy. I was very happy we got a really happy scene.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was gonna go tragic, so I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I know they're cousins, but I always look at Aelin and Aelin as siblings. And especially because they're described so similar. Literally, it's said that they're like twins. Literally. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, these two are so similar and the king never noticed. That's insane. That's like a bit of a plot hole, I think. Like, especially the eyes. Turquoise gold eyes. What the fuck is that, you know? That's very specific.
But the king never made the connection that Selena was actually...
No, he didn't.
So...
Until the display happened in Wendelin. That's when he connected
Yes. But before that, no.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he never just thought about it. You know, if they were like standing in front of him together, that's...
That would make sense, yeah, but because they never did. Yeah. And he also probably never thought about it because she was a child when that happened, when her parents were killed, and he probably thought that she's dead.
Exactly. I mean, what are the chances that this assassin...
And a girl at that...
Yeah. Nah. So, yeah, it's not that impossible, yeah. This rescue attempt, we cannot forget to mention that she confronts Dorian for the first time. I mean, how can we forget that little detail, huh? That was so good also, but so sad because she's like, there is no Dorian in there. And I'm like, but there is. She just can't.
Yeah, because she can't hear the point of view that we're reading, so we know, but she doesn't.
And it's so hard.
And you're like, don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
I'm just like, she gave up so fast. I was kind of pissed here again at Aelin. She was like ready to chop his head off in a way. I mean, I like to think that she wouldn't be able to do it because she was just hesitating so much. But it did appear like she would at the same time. So I was like, what the fuck is happening here? And it was such a good, like, I have to read this again. Ava, sorry, I'm gonna be quoting a lot. So she's like, Dorian, she repeated, her voice breaking. The demon chuckled again. Not anymore. She gazed into those eyes, at the mouth she'd once kissed, at the friend she'd once cared for so deeply and begged. Just one sign, Dorian. But there was nothing of her friend in that face. No hesitation or twinge of muscle against the attack as the prince lunged. And I'm just like, no. And Dorian, by the way, with his powers, he's so hot. Like, really a man with
cold?
Powers.
He's so cold.
He's so cold, yeah.
Cold.
Amazing. Just love the dude. I know this isn't really him, it's like the Valk Prince, but you know, I can still imagine it so well in my head. It was a good moment, but at the same time sad. And of course, Chaol was completely pissed at her. And you know, I understand also why Chaol, he couldn't trust her, because anytime he would say something, like when he would doubt her, instead of her calming him down a little bit and saying like, Chaol, what kind of monster do you think I am? Of course, I'm not gonna kill millions of people. She's like, well, I just might burn the city to the ground when I'm done with it. You know, she's just like, she still has that child...
him.
Yeah, she still has that childish response, you know? So, of course, you kind of, in that case, also understand Chaol. He has reason to doubt her. He has reason to feel distrustful. And instead of her, like, being smart about it and, like, sitting him down...
It's her being petty about it.
Yeah, she's petty about it. So... Just that's why I was like, this is such a sibling relationship right now, because they're just being petty.
I thought it was just childish.
And, yeah, childish, yeah. Just such an annoying relationship. Let's first move on to Lysandra, because we get introduced to Lysandra in this book. If you haven't read the prequel, this is the first time you meet her. And she's she's basically like works as a prostitute, you could say. And she was also just like Aelin, she was like used basically and kind of thrown into this world at a young age. She was found by Larissa, her pimp, you could say. And basically in this book it's described, if you read the prequel you can see it, but here it's stated that Robin bought her virginity with the money that Aelin gave to him to pay her for her freedom and Sam's freedom or something, and he used that money to basically buy off Lysandra's virginity. And ever since then, like, they've been hooking up. She's been like his, you know, woman.
Concubine.
Yeah, it's just disgusting, so disgusting. And basically, Aelin and Lysandra, we find this out also in this book, like it's no secret, that they've had like a weird relationship, you know. They were fighting for Robin's attention because he messed them up so bad in their heads, you know. They literally wanted his attention, they craved his attention.
And it's very good that he created also competition between them, so they didn't think why they wanted it.
Mastermind.
It was very good. Told you, emotional manipulation, that guy was very good.
Masterminded that. And so they basically, hated each other, you know, instead of seeing that they're alike.
Two pieces of the same coin.
Yeah. But here, finally, Aelin sees something more in Lysandra. At first, she's, of course, like, get out of my house. She's mean to her. But she has, like, this little girl with her, Evangeline. Mm-hmm. And Evangeline basically tells her that she was also sold to Clarisse, and that Lysandra did this to her face. Like, she literally marked her. She has, like, scars on her face. And Aelin immediately takes this as a negative thing. She's like, oh my gosh, that bitch. It's like, I'm gonna kill her right now for what she did to this little girl. But really, she did it to protect her. Because now she can't be used. Because she's not, like, beautiful anymore.
She's ugly.
Yeah, because
she's damaged goods.
Yeah, that's...
And nobody likes damaged goods.
In Clarisse's eyes, this is not Ava talking. We have to
yeah,
say
no,
that.
no, that's not. Okay, I know that from the point of the character, please, from the point of the character.
Yeah, and this is what Angeline tells her why Lysandra is still indebted to Clarisse. And when the healer said my face couldn't be fixed, Clarisse made Lysandra buy me for the amount I would have cost if I had been a full courtesan like her. Aelin had no words. Evangeline said, that's why she's still working for Clarisse, why she's still not free and won't be for a while. I thought you should know. This is so sad. And then Aelin's like, and for a moment she wondered how another young woman's life would have been different if she had stopped to talk to her, really talk to Kaltain Rompier, instead of dismissing her as a vapid courtier. What would have happened if Nehemia had tried to see past Kaltain's mask too? And this is just so sad because, oh my gosh, this is like goosebumps getting again. I feel like Sarah J. Maas does a really good job at portraying these female relationships. Because I feel like in our world, it's the same. Women are often put into positions where they have to compete with each other and where we're like jealous of each other instead of sticking together. You know, we'll see the worst in a girl first instead of like trying to see past that and see the best in her, you know what I mean? And we'll compete, we'll be jealous, not all the time, but that's common. And it's the same in this book, you know, Aelin and Lysandra, instead of coming together and sticking together because they're thrown into the same position, they were competitive and they couldn't see past that. And it was the same with Kaltain, you know, Selena saw her as this backstabbing bitch who, I don't know, wants to frame her for whatever, but Kaltain was literally raised in this kind of environment. She was manipulated into being this person. And the same with Lysandra, the same with Selena, they were like pitted against each other. And that's when they come together, and when they form this friendship, I think it's so beautiful. And
I think that's why it pans out and it works out. It's very well shown in the book that it's easier to judge the great enemies than to build bridges and see the similarities between certain people.
Well said. And you know, once these women become friends, I think it's portrayed so well. I think that Sarah J. Maas is brilliant at this. I feel like this entire series, I love the romance in it, don't get me wrong, but I love the friendship more. Like, this book is a friendship book. Like, the series is a friendship series, and these relationships between these women are so well developed and so well portrayed. And, you know, I cried literally when I read this scene, actually, when Evangeline was explaining what Lysandra did for her. I literally cried because, you know, we saw it from Aelin's point of view, and we saw what she thought of Lysandra, that she's just like a stupid whore, you know, and just so sad. She doesn't know her story and she judged her, just like you said, instead of seeing past that.
Yes, but I think Robin also made her this way, right?
Of course, the men in this world.
And it's always that's what I wanted to say. It's really ironic how it was the men that made them compete, and see them as.
And this is historical, you know. I mean, women since forever, like, we're used for making babies and for marriages, and we're like basically have to compete against each other to get that best position, while men, they just orchestrate everything. And I mean, of course, we've come a long way, but
not that long.
Yeah. Not really.
Still a way to go. But we're gonna go off topic if we start this debate. So let's get back to the book.
This is a debate for another day. Eventually, Lysandra and Aelin, you know, they do become friends. They start working together. They see...
Female power.
Yeah, female empowerment in this book is so good. And yeah, I mean, we'll get back to that later. Now, I guess we can also skip a little bit to Manon and her storyline. Ugh, my girl Manon. Do you like her more now? Like her storyline?
Okay, so I thought about it, I read about it, and now I like her more.
Yay! Every reader ever, guys!
Last book, I was like, why is this in this book? And I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. It's coming full circle. I know she was gonna do this. We all knew she was gonna do this. But still, you know, when you put a third POV that you never heard of, that didn't see coming, you're just like, why?
Of course, yeah.
Of course, but it makes sense. I think she connected it really well.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, her character growth...
Perfect.
No words.
Like, perfect.
No words.
Her finally coming to this realization that she's not evil, that she's not a demon, that she has a soul, essentially, is so good. And her, like, seeing past her grandmother, and, like, also, you know, when you start off, she has, like, a lot of conflict with Astrid, because Astrid is essentially kind of rebelling against her. She's, like, trying to make her see that her grandmother is evil incarnate and that it doesn't have to be this way, but she sees this, of course, as insubordination, and she like strips her of her position.
Yes.
Because she has to do something, right?
So that she doesn't look weak.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
But it also, I think it's very good that it makes her see that the road that her grandmother chose will lead to ruin for all of the witches.
Yeah.
Because you can clearly see they're just a pawn in the game.
Yeah.
Their prosperity is not number one. I think the grandmother is really blinded by her own self-importance,
of course,
and power, as to think that she can manipulate the manipulator.
Yeah.
Or use the manipulator in a way. She doesn't see the full picture.
Yeah.
Or she just likes the fact that they're able to do shitty deeds and get to fly.
I mean, yeah, or she's just evil. Or she's just evil. I think that's a big part. Like, she's literally just,
yeah. Yeah, but I expected more nuances from the grandmother.
Of course,
if you're evil, right? Mm-hmm. You should be smarter than this.
True.
I'm sorry.
True.
But then again, pride.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, anyway, Manon is, like, obviously repulsed by everything. The fact that she has to obey Duke Parrington, for example.
Oh, and Duke Parrington begin again in this book.
Yeah. And he's
I hated him from the start.
But who would have thought that he has such an important role to play? Like, that has the king inside of him. Duke Parrington is the Valk king, essentially. Which is a plot twist I didn't see coming.
Neither did I.
You know, you would have thought the king.
The king had a king.
Yeah, so that's
also,
cool.
what a plot is there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that later. Let's stick with Manon for a while. So, yeah, essentially she has to work with him. He also asks her for, like, a coven of witches that he can, like, impregnate with these demons. And they're, like, yellow legs. They volunteer, essentially, and it's just awful for them because they're basically tortured down there in those basements. I mean, it's a whole story, and Manon, essentially, an amazing bond grows here between Manon and Aelin.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Did you realize, did you get the connection that Aelin is like Lady Marion's daughter?
What?
Don't tell me you didn't realize it. Are you getting it just now?
I didn't.
Do you not know who Aelin is? You still don't know?
No, I know who Aelin is, but okay. I didn't make the connection. I thought she was just some... Well, no, wait. It is hinted.
It's plainly stated in the book.
There was a lot of names, Lina.
Well, damn it.
There was a lot of names.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't really have problem following this book. Like, even the first time I read it.
Really?
No, I didn't.
I was still a bit lost, to be honest.
I mean, let's remind Eva here. So, Aelin is basically Aelin Lotion. I don't know how her surname's pronounced. But she's Lady Marion's daughter. And Lady Marion, in the previous book, in the Heir of Fire, when you get Selena's memories... She says, tell my Aelin that I love her.
Oh, that.
Yes, Lady Marion, the woman that saved Selena's life, Aelin's life.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's Aelin. And Aelin, in this book, she also, talks about her parents. And
to me, that was such a minor character in my back mind. So I was like, delete.
Oh, that's sad because it's not a minor character. Everything in this book is important, Eva. Like, whenever you get a perspective from a character, it's gonna be important.
I have to tell you, although I like Manon, I still continue with the main storyline more than Manon. This is still like a side quest to me.
Oh, that's no, but it's not. That's sad to me because Manon's story is so important. It's not a side quest.
But I made a bigger connection with as
I know.
cliche as that sounds.
I know.
I made a bigger connection with the original three, and then Manon is still a side.
I get it because she's new.
I wasn't paying attention that much to her point because I wanted to go back to that. I was like, okay, character growth, great. A lead, great. So she has a human now next to her. She feels compassion. I was looking at it from Manon's side. For the human parts, I was like, okay, so this is another minor character.
I get it. Like, look, listeners, if you're also reading this for the first time, this is like just my kind advice to you. Try to pay attention a little bit more to Manon's story and Elite's story. Like, if you're like Ava and you're just like trying to rush through it because the main trio is more important. And you know, it's interesting. I feel like, yeah, there are different types. Like, yeah, you focus on the main tree. But for me, for example, when I was reading this the first time, I was actually so annoyed sometimes by Chaol's and Selena's storyline, Aelin's storyline, the way they were fighting all the time, the way they were annoying, that I was actually, it was a relief to me when I got to Manon's story and I could focus on her. And you know, Manon, she's so mature. She's lived for centuries. The way she carries herself is different. And it was so refreshing to read a perspective from someone so old, you know, and ancient.
Makes sense. But to me, I was just like, please fix the main storyline. It's not going well. Please let me read when you fix it.
I get that, yeah. But anyways, Elite and Manon's relationship, I feel like this is such an interesting friendship that you also don't see coming. You know, Manon, immediately when she meets Elite, she kind of sees something in her. That she's cunning, that she's smarter than she lets on.
She sees herself in her.
In a way. And Abraxas sees himself in Elite. That was so cute when he met her and he saw her mangled ankle and she was like in chains, and that was essentially how Abraxas was brought up. He was chained, he was like hurt, he was so hurt that he couldn't fly. You know, Manon had to help him with the silk and everything. So when he sees her ankle, he's like gets so sad about it. Like at one point, Elite can't get to her room because she's afraid that someone's in there, so she goes and she sleeps with Abraxas. He literally like tucks her under his wing, and that's such a beautiful moment. And then Manon, she like literally sees them and she's like, Elite, we all know you're there, like, can you be a little bit more, you know? And she even confronts Abraxas about it, and she's like, oh, a small pretty girl and you already fall at her feet, you know? It's just so cute. And then Manon and Abraxas, they fight about Elite, and it's so adorable. I can't deal. And it's so beautiful how the 13, they take Elite under their wing because she has some witch blood. It seems that Lady Marian was kind of partially a witch, if not entirely a witch. We don't know.
So but what kind of witch?
Iron Teeth.
Oh, okay.
Yep. She's there. It's just that her blood is red, it's not blue, so she's more human than a witch, but she still has something inside of her, and, you know, they see that. Even in that case, Manon's growth is so amazing because she comes to a point where even she feels for people too. At one point, human beings, they were just food for her. But now she sees that there's more to them too, and like, for example, Kaltain, she respects her a lot, and she sees like, you know.
Yeah, that was an interesting point to me. I didn't think
gosh, that was so good.
I know it was leading up to that point where she will see humans as something more than food.
Yeah.
But when it actually got to that, I was like, damn. Yeah. This character really, the growth was really
so good. Yeah. One of the best character growth developments ever, if you ask me. And like I said, it catches you by surprise. You really don't expect it, right?
Especially it's how it started, the introduction.
Exactly. So random. So that was, I don't know, just amazing. Okay, so that's for now for Elite and Manon. Now let's go back to the main characters, the main trio, you could say, because Rowan comes back in the picture. So he was supposed to stay in Wendelin, but he didn't because he picked up on Lorcan's scent.
Lorcan was lurking.
Yeah, Lorcan is part of his cadre, and he came after Aelin, you could say, and well,
on the Queen's orders.
Yeah, and Rowan, he followed him. So the reunion was so beautiful. When Aelin sees him, she just like runs towards him and hugs him, and it was so cute. I know you don't like Rowan, but their relationship with development was also really good, and I felt like actually, you know, the tension here in this book was really good because we also got some POVs from Rowan's point of view, and he was like so struggling, you know. He was like trying to control himself, and he was like, no, this is just strictly a working relationship.
Let's be honest, they were struggling in the previous book as well.
Not really, not that much. I mean, in the previous book, it was more like a friendship. Here, he was
at the end, it didn't look like a friendship.
Well, okay.
It didn't look like a friendship.
But it wasn't that prominent. In this book, it was like prominent that it's sexual.
It was really more prominent, yeah, but there were hints enough that you can see where this was going.
But it wasn't the same as it was here, because here he was finally accepting it, you know? In that book, he wasn't.
Okay, yeah, that's
you know what
true.
I mean? And also the situation was just so, you know, complex. We have so many things going on, and now he's battling this emotions with her, and it was like so awful when there was like a moment when they almost kissed, and he snaps at her, and he's like literally like, no, you know, like, get the fuck away from me. And she's so hurt by that, because she of course takes it completely the wrong way. In her head it was like, what, is he disgusted by me? Did I misread this? You know, what is happening? But he just is so scared because he feels bad. He's feeling guilty because of his mate who's dead, and now he's in love with another woman, and he feels like he shouldn't be, right? Because his mate is dead and he should still love her and forever mourn her. So it's complex, you know. And I felt for Rowan.
But you get your kiss in the end.
Yeah. Oh.
How happy were you?
I was like, finally.
Were you screaming in your pillow?
I was, because this was like such a slow burn. It really was.
It really was.
And
that was written
it was good.
And
like the moments when Aelin would come in her like sexy little lingerie, like little like pajamas, and Lorcan was like, I've never seen clothing like that. And Aelin is like, wait, what? Women in your like part of the world don't wear sexy lingerie? You know, what the fuck? And he's like, no. He's so old, and he's never seen a woman in that.
Old though.
That's
like,
insane.
He's really old though.
He's old.
Compare her age and his.
No, we're not going there. He's still hot, so that's all that matters. You know.
But the age, if you look like you're 25, you're 25.
Exactly. And that's what I'm telling myself. Some girl the other day told me I look like I'm 19 years old. And I'm just like, well, then I am 19 years old. You know?
Back to the book, Nina.
Back to the book. I know you've been shipping Chaol so hard, but how did you feel about Rowan and Aelin's relationship in this book?
I mean, I really liked the dialogue though. It was fun to read. It was really fun to read.
Right, the bantering, huh?
You know it's gonna go there. You know it's leading up to it. The tension is building. Still not what I wanted. But it is not that bad. However, I still think, and I still stand by this, even though I haven't read all the books, the end game is gonna be Dorian.
You still believe that?
Yes.
What are your like arguments for this? Why?
It would make like a whole circle about it, and it would make sense because she's been shipping them up by positions.
Okay.
Even with Chaol, and now with his, what's the friend's name? Nesrin.
Yeah.
You can see that this is gonna slowly maybe become apparent, at least from her side. She already has feelings. He has to process himself. So by position wise, Dorian would make the most sense.
For Aelin, I'm sorry.
For Aelin, yes. And you can see through her character growth how love interests grow with her. Or go with her. You understand what I'm meaning.
Yeah. But what do you think is going to happen with Rowan then? I mean, they're a thing now. So what? Is that going to just like...
A sworn...
a fling?
No, he's going to be a sworn sword. I think in the end, it's going to be something in the moment. It will help both of them grow, overcome certain personal difficulties, but it's going to not stay relevant together for long.
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah, I was confused about Rowan also because like he has a mate that's dead, you know. So I'm like, you know, I don't know, why would you introduce mates in this book and then like pair Selena with someone who already had a mate and they died?
I think it's personal growth.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
You know.
I don't know, because for the sake of the listeners, I don't. And I can't spoil anything, so stop it, okay?
So Nina, what do you know? What do you know?
I know nothing. I'm tabula rasa, okay?
You lie.
Blank piece of paper.
But no, just for my curiosity's sake.
Okay.
Am I right?
I can't tell you that. Why are you kidding me? She really thinks I'm gonna tell her something. You're delusional. You're so delusional, girl. But we love it. We love a Delulu girl, okay?
Thanks.
Well, let's move on a little bit with the storyline, okay? Now these people are like working together. They have a plan to basically destroy the towers so that they free the magic, okay? That's like really important for them. And when they go into the tunnels, like they have like a little bit of a history session in the tunnels, and they learn something about the king, Erawan. He's like, Erawan is the Valk king. And they learn that he's actually entombed in a crypt in that part where Kaltain and Manon are, Duke Parrington's estate. He's entombed there. That's what they learned, that he was never actually killed, okay? And of course they immediately know that obviously this is the king's plan to free him, or he already freed him. Like, they don't know. But that's why it's so important to destroy these towers as soon as possible, so that like she can literally have a chance to defeat the king, right? But of course something happens also in the middle of the book, and it's the fact that Lysandra is taken. When Robin died, he betrayed Lysandra because it seemed that he did suspect her working with Aelin, and that's why he did it, for revenge.
So he wasn't that stupid.
He wasn't. I mean, obviously he wasn't. And he betrayed her, that she's like a shapeshifter, which is another tidbit that we find about Lysandra. It's so cool. Robin sniffs it out of her. And this is actually the form that she appears with now. It's something that she was trapped in when magic ceased to be. So that's so interesting. Anyways, yeah, they take her and then they have to rescue her. This is probably like my favorite part of the book.
Go on.
So they go after her. It's so interesting to read because you get it from Manon's perspective, and her grandmother tells her that she's meeting the king and that she's like presenting him a weapon. She has to scout the place where the meeting's gonna happen. At the same time, you get the other main characters' perspectives, and you see that they're also going to that place to rescue Lysandra. So you know that they're
gonna meet
finally.
And the storylines crossover.
Oh, this is perfection. I love it that's why I appreciate these various storylines, because when they cross over, it's so good if it's done properly.
And satisfying for the reader.
So satisfying. And it was amazing when you would like when they were like hiding in the woods, and you could like see it from their POVs, and they were like, there's this witch, and Aelin knows that she's the most beautiful person she's ever seen, but also the most horrifying. And I'm just like, that's Manon. And when she's describing, oh my gosh, when she's describing the wyverns lying in the grass, so only 13 wyverns were grounded in the meadow. The smallest of them was sprawled on his belly, face buried in a mound of wild flowers.
Okay, no, that was cute. That was very cute. I'll give you that.
Abraxas loves playing with wildflowers. He loves flowers, and there's a moment when Manon tells us that he likes looking at the stars. I mean, come on! How can you not love that? Are you kidding me? Imagine this enormous creature and dragon-like creature just playing and sniffing flowers. I'm melting. And he's the smallest of the bunch. He's the baby, okay? So it's just so beautiful, you know, when from Aelin's point of view, she's describing this, and we already know, you know, that's Abraxas, that's the 13 witches, okay? It's so good. And yeah, essentially they're like hiding, they're like looking for their moment. Chaol is finally, at this point of the book, he's finally kind of coming to his senses. He's basically...
It took time.
Yeah, Aelin and him, they have like a conversation, and he like tells her that she doesn't have to worry, that he will prioritize saving Lysandra because he doesn't want another Nehemia situation happening, right?
Took time.
Yeah, but I mean, we got there. And then we also get Manon's perspective, because they were like, I love this moment when she meets Dorian, and she like sees Dorian, and she's like, he would have been beautiful were it not for the dark color around his throat. And there was a moment when they're left alone and they have a conversation, and this is so good. There was no one in earshot as Manon stopped a few feet away from the crown prince. Hello, princeling, she purred. And then they talk, and he's like, hello, witchling. And the words were his own. So this is Dorian speaking. The Valk Prince, he like suppresses him somehow. Somehow Manon's presence helps him do that. And I think that's because, I mean, the witches we find out in this book are the offspring actually of the Valk.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
she has like gold. Manon has gold eyes, just like Erewhon had. And when the Valk prince inside of Dorian sees her, he kind of gets scared. He's repulsed by Manon, and the closer she gets, the more paranoid and stressed out the prince becomes. And I think this allows Dorian to speak by himself. And he's like, for a moment, he was so stunned that he blinked. He blinked. The demon inside of him recoiled, clawing at the walls of his mind. Eyes of the Valk kings, eyes of our masters, it shrieked. Do not touch that one. Is there a reason you're smiling at me, she said, or shall I interpret it as a death wish? Do not speak to it. He didn't care. Let this be another dream, another nightmare. Let this new lovely monster devour him whole. He had nothing beyond the here and now. Do I need a reason to smile at a beautiful woman?
Of course, let's go back to being Prince Charming.
Of course. And then she asked him, this is like such a good line, if you ask me, but would you bleed red or black? I'll bleed whatever color you tell me to.
You can tell he was a womanizer, you know?
I'll bleed whatever color you tell me to. Are you shitting me? Okay, even Manon, I feel like, was, oh, damn it. And she let out a low, vicious laugh. What is your name, Prince? His name. He didn't know what that was. And she's like again, what is your name? A command, not a question, as eyes of pure gold met his. Dorian, he breathed. Your name is nothing, your name is mine, the demon hissed, and a wave of that human woman's screaming swept him away. Oh, Sorsha. And the best part of this interaction is that Aelin and Chaol saw it, and they overheard it. And crouched in the brush just 20 feet from the prison wagon, Aelin froze. Dorian, it couldn't have been. There wasn't a chance of it, not when the voice that Dorian had spoken with was so empty, so hollow, but beside her, Chaol's eyes were wide. Had he heard the slight shift? The wing leader cocked her head. Do you want me to kill you, Dorian? Aelin's blood went cold. Chaol tensed. Okay, I'm not gonna read this entire chapter. It seems like I'm not stopping.
Did you reread it though?
Of course I did. Of course I did. This was so good. Just... Finally, they know that he's in there, but somehow Chaol was still stupid enough, and he went after him, and he decided to kill him. And he, like, almost... I mean, he literally screwed them over, because then they encountered the witches, but at the end, it was actually Aelin who screwed them over. Aelin and Chaol, you don't know who's worse.
They both fucked up.
Yeah.
At this point of the story, you're like, I like you, but why?
Yeah.
Why do I like you?
Why
At
are
this moment,
yeah.
why are you so fucking dumb?
Exactly, and am I dumb to like you? Essentially. Because
we don't want to ask that second question.
Truly.
But
basically, yes. Chaol went rogue, and he wanted to, like, give this mercy to Dorian and kill him. In my mind, I don't remember the exact reasoning, because I'm like, don't you see that he's still in there? Like, this is proof, the conversation they had, right? But whatever, I guess it was still more of a shock to Chaol because Dorian was still so different. This is the first time he sees him with the color, he sees him the way he behaves, the way he acts. So the negative is still more prominent, right?
Yes.
So he goes and he wants to do that. Of course, he fails, and Selena and Rowan, they come to rescue him. They confront the witches, and they almost, literally, Manon is like, I'm not in the mood to fight today. Like, go away. I don't care. Like, leave. And Manon is actually shocked when Aelin tells her that she's Aelin Galatinius, because Manon knows about Aelin because of Elite.
Yes.
Yeah, Elite.
That's all. Elite wanted to go to the queen to fight for her.
Yeah, and she told her how, like, sometimes when she was, like, locked in her tower and stuff, like, she was dreaming of Aelin maybe saving her one day, and that's so sad. Poor Elite. So Manon knows, and she wants to let them go, but then Aelin is stupid enough, and she tells her that she killed Baba Yellowlegs.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who says it. I think it was Rowan who's like, what the fuck would she say that? Or Cadian. They're just pissed at Aelin at that point. What the fuck is her problem? And then, of course, the witches turn on them. They, like, start running. Manon starts shooting. She shoots fucking Rowan near his heart. She almost kills him with the arrow. Selena, of course, loses her fucking mind.
But she's to blame for it.
Exactly.
All you had to do was keep your mouth shut.
That was the point of that.
all you had to do.
I mean, I'm glad it happened because it was such a good action sequence. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. But it was so unnecessary, right? It would have been better if Manon just decided to kill them because they're like, whatever. But no, of course, no, Manon's character growth wouldn't allow that. But anyways, yeah, they fight it off. And there's, like, the moment when Swords are boring, the queen said, and palmed 2 fighting knives. Manon sheathed Windcleaver along her own back. She flicked her wrist, the iron nail shooting out. She cracked her jaw and her fangs descended. Indeed. The queen looked at the nails, the teeth, and grinned. Honestly, it was a shame that Manon had to kill her. Such a good line, again, because these two, I think they would...
along.
Yeah, they could be friends. They would be friends. And essentially, Aelin doesn't kill her. And it's so good again. It's a brilliant action sequence. But then the thing is that Aelin hears Astrid's scream, okay? And that scream reminds her so much of how she screamed for Rowan, right? And she's like, well, fuck, I'm killing this person and she has people who really love her and I'm taking her away from them. And she says that she feels a tug. And that's why she doesn't do it. And she's like, Aelin had felt it before. A thread in the world. A current running between her and someone else. She'd felt it one night years ago. This is important from the prequel. And had given a young healer the money to get the hell out of this continent. The healer is important. It's going to be important for one book. She'd felt the tug and had decided to tug back. Here it was again, that tug, toward Manon, whose arms buckled as she collapsed to the stone. But perhaps the monsters needed to look out for each other every now and then.
How happy were you with that line? Very happy. I just imagine you reading that and I can see on your face, I was like, yes.
And what did you think about it?
I was surprised. I thought she was gonna go for the blow. And then this comes and I'm like, huh. Although I still don't understand why it was necessary to tell them that you killed Baba Yellowlegs.
That's the childish part of Aelin. Like, she's still not. Like, she's
thought she
matured a
let
lot.
that go.
Yeah.
I thought she let that go. Okay, and even with Chaol, I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. What the fuck are you? You are weak. What do you think you're going to achieve? The prince has powers, and now he's being possessed.
Yeah.
By a
Stupid.
magical entity. And you, human-looking idiot, with not even good godly flexes, are gonna somehow kill him? Really?
Honestly, Aelin and Chaol were so stupid in this book. They were literally like... I mean, Aelin, she still is a little bit more redeemable because she did also have some really good plans.
But it was the least character growth, though. I mean, it was character growth, but compared to, for let's say, Manon, it was very...
Yeah, true. But for Chaol, you could say that there was a lot of character growth because at the end of the day, he did essentially come to that realization.
Yeah.
So they let Manon go. And they went to this house where there was a healer to heal Rowan. And Aelin and him had like a conversation. And it was a real good conversation that I have to read, of course. I'm sorry, he said again. She gazed up at the stars toward the north. Her face was so cold. Would you truly have killed him if you'd had the chance? Yes, Chaol breathed. I was ready for that. She slowly turned to him. We'll do it. Together. We'll free magic. Then you and I will go in there and end it together. You're not going to insist I stay back? How can I deny you that last gift to him? Her shoulders sagged slightly. I don't blame you. If it had been Rowan with that collar around his neck, I would have done the same thing. The words hit him in the gut as she walked away. A monster, he'd called her weeks ago. He had believed it and allowed it to be a shield against the bitter tang of disappointment and sorrow. He was a fool. This is so good. Finally, him realizing how awful he was to her for no reason, and that, he's a fool.
It was a reason, it's just it wasn't a good reason.
Yeah, and like some of the words he used were really strong, like calling her a monster.
Yeah, of course, everybody coming from a place of hurt uses shit language.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah, I'm just glad that he came to that realization. It took a while, but finally we're getting there and...
We're going in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. So after this, we again skip back to Manon and the 13. They were back together and eventually we also get Astrid's story, which was so sad. That was like so depressing. I cried when I read that and I reread it again. And basically, Astrid, she has... Like, it's not just about what's right and wrong. Her morals are a bit better than Manon's. It's the fact that she actually lived through something that made her see this. And when she was younger, when she was like 25 years old or something, she fell in love with a human. She like fell off her broom, and he kind of helped her, healed her, and they fell in love, and she got pregnant. And when she came back to, you know, the witches, that's when she realized she was pregnant. And witchlings, like, it's supposedly for witches, it's really hard to get pregnant. So when you get pregnant, you have to really take care of yourself. And her grandmother, she locked her away in the tower for her own safety. But the thing is that her kid, like, when she gave birth, was dead. It was like a stillbirth. The patron, she was just so awful. She burned, like, the baby, and she branded Asterin with something on her stomach. And she told her she was unclean or something, and she beat her. And ever since then, Asterin decided that she would, like, serve Manon instead of her grandmother, because she realized that there's something that the grandmother fears in Manon. And if there's something that she fears in her, that must mean something, right? And when Manon, for example, when she helped save that other witch from the other clan, when her wyvern was, you know, dying in the last book, that's when that was even more confirmation for Asterin that she made the right choice. And now, like, her goal was all the time to motivate her and to make her see what kind of a monster that leader is. And the other two witches, Sorrel, I think, and another one, they also were there with Asterin when she went through this experience, and they helped heal her, so they know as well. But they were afraid to tell Manon because of her reaction, you know, they had to choose the right moment.
Yeah, Manon was also conditioned. I think
Exactly.
that Asterin wanted, I mean, it's not stated, but I think in her inner thoughts, she wanted Manon to become the leader, so there would be a different path to take.
Yes.
So there would be an opposition to the previous path taken.
Exactly.
Because it was, even to her, it was painful. I mean, imagine that. It was...
That was such a heartbreaking story. And what broke my heart was when Manon, like, asks her if she ever saw the hunter again. And she says that she never went there because she was afraid to confront him, you know, what he would think of her. But she always kind of watched over him. And even when he grew old, she would, like, see him sometimes sitting in front of his house and looking at the sky, like he was waiting for someone. So that is a tragic love story.
That was so sad.
That broke my heart. That's when I started crying. Like, even, of course, the baby story, everything. But just imagining this man dying of old age, thinking...
Old man looking at that I cried there as well. I bawled. I was like, no. I had, you know, when they're old and you're like,
old people, we're the same in that way.
And when they're old and they have a tragic love story and you're like, please,
that's just, and he's dead now, and he never knew. He never found out. He never found out.
And she still thinks of him.
Yeah. And he never found out. He died, and he never found out about the baby, about what happened to Asterin, and that she never forgot him. In his head, he died thinking that she did. That she left him. And he never got over her.
That was so fucking sad.
That's so sad.
That was so fucking sad. I mean, already it was a tragic story, but that just made it heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, this relationship between Asterin and Manon was just... When she tells her this, you can see the switch in Manon, you know? And she's like, fuck this shit, you know? We're doing something. Like, this is enough.
We're rebelling.
Yeah, this is... Even Manon was touched by this. Like, on one hand, we have Lysandra and Aelin, and Nestrin as well, actually. Nestrin also became a good friend of Aelin. Like, that's cute friendship. But I feel like this friendship is even deeper and stronger. And even with Elite, you know, everything that they did for Elite, like this, you know, how they protected her, how they helped her escape, like this friendship. On the other hand, we have those three, and here we have these three. But and I'm just
here I think higher stakes.
Yeah.
Higher stakes and more tragedy than on those three.
Darker.
It makes a bigger impact on the reader, I think, because it's more tragic and they overcome that and they came to an understanding, and you can see there is no pettiness afterwards.
Yeah.
You can see the real realization.
Yeah.
And it's not over something stupid as a guy.
Exactly,
you know?
Yeah.
It's about profound things that they went through, tragedies they experienced in their lives.
And how they were conditioned, like you said.
And how they were conditioned and how it changed them. So it makes it even more powerful.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, let's stick with the storyline so that we can get it over with, because a lot of things happen also after this. Basically, in the meantime, when they were, like, battling it out with Aelin and everyone, Elide was captured by her freaking uncle, who realized...
Oh my fucking god, that part.
Oh,
why?
Disgusting uncle.
Why did we need this?
So essentially, he basically, that's why Elide is in chains all the time. He's the one that entrapped her after her parents died, and he realized that she has like witch blood. So now he also wants her to be impregnated by this Valk prince, and he imprisons her.
That
And
poor woman suffered enough, and then that guy comes.
yeah,
Like,
and it was just awful because I mean Manon and the rest they came just in time, and it was really difficult to read that because the way it was described, Elite was like dressed in a robe and she was like naked underneath, and there were like these men literally dragging her to her torture chamber, and they were like laughing at her nakedness, and you know, poor girl, she was so embarrassed. She's like Elite, the way I imagine her is like this little young girl, you know, like so innocent in a way, and it was just awful. And when Manon saw that, she literally lost her shit, and I have to read this segment. So, it was the sound of Elite's weeping, that girl of quiet steel and quicksilver wit who had not wept for herself or her sorry life, only faced it with grim determination, that made Manon snap entirely. She killed those guards in the hall. She saw what they had been laughing at. The girl gripped between the other guards, her robe dug up open to reveal her nakedness, the full extent of that ruined leg. Her grandmother had sold them to these people. She was a black beak. She was no one's slave, no one's prize horse to breed. Neither was Elide. I mean, such a good fucking story of empowerment and of fucking standing up for yourself and for the people who can't stand up for themselves, right? For the weaker ones. And the way Manon snapped here for Elide when she saw what they were doing to her, I'm just like, go off, girl.
Yeah, when you get that realization that, yes, thank the fucking gods,
yes,
she was saved. You did not want to see this story end in tragedy.
And another storyline that we didn't expect and that comes full circle here is Kaltain. Because after this, Kaltain, she kind of comes and she helps them and she switches places with Elite. So she takes her robe and Elite takes her clothing and she essentially sacrifices herself. There's an exchange between Kaltain and Elite. She like gives her something that was under her like skin. I think she kind of digs it out. So what is that? Manon asks, sniffing subtly. Kaltain just squeezed Elite's fingers. You find Selena Sardotian. Give her this. No one else. Tell her that you can open any door if you have the key. And tell her to remember her promise to me. To punish them all. When she asks why, tell her I said that they would not let me bring the cloak she gave me, but I kept a piece of it, to remember that promise she made, to remember to repay her for a warm cloak in a cold dungeon. Oh my gosh, another moment when I cried.
Yes, it comes full circle.
This is another moment when I cried because what has been done to this girl, to Kaltain, even like they describe it when she like takes off her clothes, they can like see how bruised she is, how tortured she is. I mean, she was probably raped multiple times. Like,
that's not
and Kaltain was like, she defeated the prince. She ate him. She literally ate the prince. She was that fucking strong, and it was her for a while now, without the control. But she was just biding her time. She was just waiting to strike back. And there's this like segment again. I have to read this. This is just too good and so unexpected again. You know. Kaltain flowed into the room, spreading her arms wide, and became shadow fire, became freedom and triumph, became a promise hissed in a dungeon beneath a glass castle. Punish them all. She burned the cradles, she burned the monsters within, she burned the men and the demon princes, and then she burned the witches, who looked at her with gratitude in their eyes and embraced the dark flame. Kaltain unleashed the last of her shadow fire, tipping her face to the ceiling, toward a sky she'd never see again. She looked out every wall and every column, as she brought it all crashing and crumbling around them. Kaltain smiled, and at last burned herself into ash on a phantom wind. That is so sad, and just so again full circle with the cloak. And this I feel like is such an important message in general. Selena was kind to Kaltain. You know, she offered her like a shred of kindness, you know, just a cloak. You would think that's nothing, it's not a big deal. But that one little thing meant so much to Kaltain that it stayed with her and it helped her. It helped her hope, it helped her be strong, and it helped her defeat these monsters at the end of the day. Just that one act of kindness can literally change someone's life. Like, that is true, it is possible. And this is really well shown in this book
and really well written.
Yes, I mean, who would have thought that Kaltain, that girl from the first book who just seemed like...
I did not see that one coming, I'll be honest. I didn't think she will get a redemption act like this.
The way this author planned this out is brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
It really
who would
was.
have thought, honestly. And this would be such a good TV show or movie, really.
No, usually now they fuck up the TV shows. They did.
I mean, they did Game of Thrones well. You know, do you have like
the ending? Did they?
I mean, the ending no, but it wasn't finished. That's the thing. They had to finish it themselves.
No.
These books are finished, so I think HBO could do a good job with this series, like on a high level fantasy. HBO has good fantasy series. HBO doesn't disappoint, in my opinion. Okay, yeah. So essentially, this happens, and basically, Manon and the witches, they help Elid run away. Like, they take her to a clearing and they tell her to go. Manon literally packed her like some stuff to go with her, like so cute, like she's her child or something. So this is so good because Elid is now on a quest. She has to find Selena Serdottian and give her this ring. But Selena Serdottian is literally Aelin Galatinius, the one person that Elid wants to find for herself.
It's very
And
funny.
she doesn't know. She has no idea. In her thought process, she's like, I have no idea who this Selena Serdottian is, but I will find her.
People.
Yeah. She's like, I have no idea who this is, but I will find her for Kaltain. And I'm like, that's Aelin, bitch. That's so good. And in the next book, you can already imagine how this is gonna be good. Okay, so I guess that's like, the story is kind of concluded in that way. And now we can just skip ahead to, well, we can go back to Aelin and, let's say, our main cast, even though this is also the main cast.
Yes,
Okay,
no, it's true, I got it.
Okay, yeah, so now...
They have to destroy the tower to let the magic free, and then it's going to be a confrontation with the king. Of course, he's not going to let them do that.
Yeah. And before it all begins, there's like another big thing that happens. And in the meantime, before they rescue the lead, Manon and the witches, they went to Aelin's city and they left her a message because Manon, like, obviously now owes Aelin debt. And basically on all of the walls in Rifthold, she wrote, "Witch killer, the human is still inside him."
Oh, yeah.
Goosebumps. I got goosebumps at this part too, like, because Manon was the only one who glimpsed the real Dorian.
And could see it.
Yes.
Because of what she was.
Exactly. This is such a good moment. The message had been written in giant black letters, the reek coming off them sure enough that of Valg blood, as if someone with very, very sharp nails had ripped open one of the guards and used him as a paint bucket. Aelin turned on her heel and ran. She hurtled through the bustling city streets and the slums, alley after alley, until she reached Chaol's decrepit house and flung open the door, shouting for him. The message on the wall had only been one sentence: payment for a life debt. One sentence just for Aelin Galatinius, one sentence that changed everything. Witch killer, the human is still inside him. So this was such a good moment because, like, yeah, it was so good, so good.
So now you know they're gonna save him.
Yeah, now, or at least they're gonna try, right?
But they're gonna succeed.
Yeah. Also, the like inspirational quotes in this book are so well done. You know, the like motivational speeches or whatever. And it's like when they're partying, right? So it's her, Chaol, Adian, Rowan, and I think that's it. Adian and Rowan, they're going into the tunnels to like do damage to the freaking towers, while Aelin and Chaol are going to the castle because Aelin is pretending to be Selena again, and she's like captured the captain of the guard so that they let her in, right? And before they part, she's like, Ash River eyes met her own, and she touched the face that was the other side of her fair coin. For Terrasen, she said to him, for our family, for Marion, for us. Slowly Adion drew his blade and knelt, his head bowed as he lifted the sword of Orant. 10 years of shadows, but no longer. Light up the darkness, Majesty. So good, light up the darkness, bitch. And there's like, let's go rattle the stars, another quote.
The quotes are really good.
So it's well written. It's so well written.
And surprisingly well written for how young the author was.
So anyways, they go to the rescue mission, and it's so good and so sad at the same time, because did you think that Chaol was dead? Did you think he literally died? Were you still like thinking, oh no, he's not dead? You're still hoping? Or were you like, oh fuck, he's dead?
I was thinking, did that bitch just kill him off? Like, you know, they couldn't resolve anything afterwards, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't even go back to be normal friends, or he wouldn't resolve anything with Dorian. Like, did you just... No. And then I was like, okay, so you fucked up the romance, but you did not just do this to me. You didn't fuck up the bromance.
Yeah, because the bromance is strong, okay?
Yeah. Because it was like, the bromance was stronger than the romance. Let's be honest, it was stronger than the romance.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part of this book, the series, like, the friendships are better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree. So, no, we learned that he didn't die. He was just wounded so badly that he had his spine snapped or something. He couldn't walk then, right?
I mean, we'll get to that later. I just wanted to see your impression about that, because
Did you think he was gonna die?
For a second there, I was scared that, yeah, it did happen. But of course, I was like, no, until we get real confirmation from someone else, I'm not believing it. But yeah, of course I was scared because it did seem like Chaol's character growth was kind of leading up to that point, you know? He was just so tortured in a way. He was like battling with his guilt about Dorian. He finally comes to resolve the situation with Aelin, you know, they're friends again. He like accepts that he was a dick. And now he finally, you know, comes full circle by confronting the king and not running away.
Yeah, but I thought that it was just like unfulfilled. The role was unfulfilled. If she killed him off now,
yeah,
the story would be unfulfilled.
Yeah, true.
There would be a part missing. He was such an integral part of Dorian's life.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, no.
But you know, the way it was like written, it was so fucking deep and so like it felt so final. For Res, for Brulo, for Sorcha, for Dorian, for Aelin and Adian and their family, for the thousands massacred in those labor camps, and for Nestrin, who he'd lied to, who would wait for a return that wouldn't come, for time they wouldn't have together. He had no regrets but that one. The sun through the windows warmed Chaol's back, as if in an embrace, as if in comfort, as if to tell him it was time. I'll make it count, Aelin had promised him. He had bought her time. Chaol spread his arms wide as the darkness hit him, shattered him, obliterated him, until there was nothing but light. Burning blue light, warm and welcoming. Aelin and Dorian had gotten away. It was enough. When the pain came, he was not afraid. So, you know, this, I was like, fuck, this seems so final. Like, again, it was really well written. So it was just scary. It was a scary time for our boy Chaol here. But yeah, while he was confronting the king and kind of being a decoy, Celaena was running away towards like this bridge where she kind of confronted Dorian, right? And she was still really trying to bring him out, get to him, yeah. His thought process was so fascinating to read all the time. Like, even the first time when she confronted him, he was saying in his mind, the only thing I know is that I wish she would have killed me. Like, I wish... Ooh, yeah. That was just so depressing and sad. That was sad. That was sad. That was
somebody begging to be put out of their misery.
Exactly. It was so sad. Poor Dorian, and he was such an innocent...
Carefree,
yeah. Yeah, this will change him forever. And he's like, there was fire and light and darkness and nice, but the woman was there, halfway across the bridge, her hands out before her as she got to her feet. All around him there was so much fire and light tugging at him. We get to come back, she said, as if she knew what his darkness was, what horror existed. Fight it. A light was burning at his finger, a light that cracked inside him, a light that cracked a sliver into the darkness. Remember, she said. Her flames tore at him, and the demon was screaming, but it did not hurt him. Her flames only kept the demon at bay. Remember, a sliver of light in the blackness, a cracked doorway. Over the demon screaming, he pushed and looked out through its eyes, his eyes, and saw Celaena Sardothian standing before him. Oh my gosh, so good. And yeah, essentially he does kind of defeat the prince. He comes out, and then his dad comes and drags Chaol's fucking body across the floor, so it really looks like he's dead.
Yeah, and it would be so sad because he's finally himself.
Free. And Chaol's dead.
And the reason why he even could become himself is because Chaol gave him enough time.
Exactly, because he sacrificed himself. And this is another really... This is such another beautiful moment between them. Dorian, Aelin said, pain lancing down her spine as burnout neared. He turned his head, an eye still on the wall of flickering flames. Such pain and grief and rage in those eyes. Yet somehow, beneath it all, a spark of spirit, of hope. Aelin extended her hand, a question and an offer and a promise. To a better future, she said. You came back, he said, as if it were an answer. They joined hands. So the world ended and the next one began. They were infinite.
This is why I think this is gonna be endgame.
Yeah, come on. It does sound
she reads something. I mean, she writes something like that, and you're like, no, it's gonna be Rowan. Yeah, sure, it's gonna be Rowan.
So, they were infinite. They were the beginning and the ending. They were eternity. The king standing before them gaped at the shield of flame died out to reveal Aelin and Dorian, hand in hand, glowing like newborn gods as their magic entwined. But they held tighter to each other, past and present and future, flickering between an ancient hall in a mountain castle perched above Orent, a bridge suspended between glass towers and another place, perfect and strange, where they had been crafted from stardust and light. A wall of night knocked them back, but they could not be contained. The darkness paused for breath. They erupted. I mean, I have to tell you that when I was reading this the first time, you know, as much as I enjoyed Aelin and Rowan's storyline because their progression was really good, when this happened, when they joined hands and when they were like this power couple, like fighting the darkness together,
You were like, yes,
I was like, I want this. I want this.
This is what needs to happen.
I'm like, I want this. You know, she's like fire, he's ice, you know, opposites, just so fucking good. I wanted it so bad.
And it makes sense.
Yeah. I really wanted it so bad.
The conquered, the king, the queen.
And just like when he says, when he looks into her eyes and he says, you came back. You know, and when you remember...
And the for me is there silent, right?
Yeah. And when you remember, like, when they were kids and they were like... They met when they were kids
and
they were
gang
already...
goes full circle. I mean, come on. If this is not the end pairing, then I'm gonna be surprised. I'm really gonna be surprised if this is not the end pairing. Because everything... shapes it like it's going to be, and I think it's done purposely that in the book one you just get a hint of it and it's like immature and you're like, okay, no. And then through the progression of the book, at least in third book, you can already see it, but now you can read it as it is happening in real time.
Yeah, but like it is confusing. How will she get there? I mean, now that she's with Rowan, you know, it's gonna somehow...
Small obstacle. Continue on.
Yeah, okay, so, basically they defeat his dad, and his dad is his dad again. So this is a plot twist we didn't see coming, right?
Right. We thought that he was evil, but no, he was possessed.
Yep, he was possessed. And I mean, it's so obvious when you think back on it. I mean, we literally were reading about Dorian and Kaltain who were possessed by these princes. And they weren't themselves because they were sleeping deep down in their own bodies. So why is it so impossible to think that the king is the same? And he also wears a ring.
Yeah, because you want it to be simple, right?
I guess,
sometimes you want it to be simple.
Yeah, and you want someone to hate and blame.
Yes, and
right?
it's easier.
Yeah, it is.
But it's okay.
It's okay.
We have somebody to blame, actually. It's the Duke.
Yeah. I mean... The Duke is also actually a victim. I mean, the Duke has a king inside of him. They were just essentially...
So we have somebody to blame. It's actually the king possessing the Duke.
I mean, yeah, it's the Valg demons. It's like not a person, it's not a human being to blame. It's just like these creatures, these monsters. This is what we found out. So he says that I found the king. I found the key and brought it to Morris. And he, Barrington, we were young. And he took me under the keep to show me the crypt, even though it was forbidden. But I opened it with the key. Tears, real and clear, flowed down his ruddy face. I opened it and he came. He took Barrington's body and... he let his minion take me. Aelin's heart stumbled. Erewhon is free, she breathed. And not only free, Erewhon was Barrington. The Dark King himself had manhandled her, lived in this castle with her, and had never known, by luck or fate or Elena's own protection, that she was here. She had never known either, never detected it on him. Gods above, Erewhon had forced her to bow that day in Endovir, and neither of them had scented or marked what the other was.
That was... It's
That's
either
crazy.
A really big plot hole or luck.
I mean, like we said, you know, I guess...
If you're not looking for it, I guess, okay, it
yeah,
makes sense. Like...
yeah, exactly. I mean, she couldn't smell it on him. At the time, she was still human. She didn't know that...
Yeah, so, and he couldn't because she was still human.
And she was
maybe
probably
suppressing it internally, probably.
And when you think about it, when he met her, like, she was skinny, she was dirty, she was stored, she was like... she wasn't this princess that you would, like, associate it with that. You know, you would never think about that. So you could explain it that way, but it's actually like such, again, a full circle moment and so messed up when you think about it. And I really felt here for Dorian's dad. Like, I can't help myself but feel for him. I mean, this poor man. And he was actually the one who built these towers, not because he wanted to punish the people, but because he wanted to protect them. Because he knew that if this Walk prince living inside of him found other people to infect, it would be game over. So he literally did it because he was a good person, a good king, and he went to visit Aelin because he hoped that somehow with her powers, because he heard of them, that she would burn the prince out of him. And it's just so sad because, like, you can see, like, Dorian, he hates him. There's no, like, he doesn't believe him. Dorian's like, let's just kill him right now. We're not believing a word that's coming out of his mouth. You know, it's just so sad because the king, he actually, he cares for Dorian and he says, my boy, you know, but Dorian now, you know, he never knows.
At this part, it's too late.
It is
It's
too
too
late.
much.
But just imagine how strong the king was. I mean, he lived through this for decades, literally, and he still somehow managed to survive inside of that.
Probably the love for their child.
Probably. I mean, just crazy. And he said that, like, when Dorian was born, he was still somehow in control, you know? And that's why he built the towers and everything. He was still in control, but then eventually, of course. And now that the prince is gone, he can't survive on his own because they were just attached for too long. It just can't be undone, right? Does Dorian kill him at the end? Is he the one with the... Oh my gosh, that's so sad. And now, you know, think about it. I mean, Dorian, he's changed forever. Like, I was really excited after finishing
Trauma
this
builds
book.
character.
I was excited when we finished this book for his, like, journey in the next one. Because he's gonna be, like, a darker, more twisted Dorian. And I was really curious how that's gonna go.
And I'm interested in the growth. Actually, I think this book ends on a really interesting note.
Yeah, and also I was interested in the connection between Manon and him, because if you think about it, Manon was the one who brought out that of him. So if they meet again, I was also curious about that. I was like, how's that gonna go? You know, Manon was the one who actually saved him, if you think about it. She was the one who let them know that he's still in there, and she was the one who brought that out of him.
It was actually coincidences that led to a fuller story.
Exactly.
And now we're continuing on with Aelin going back to her own country, trying to rally her people, and that's gonna be oof.
That's gonna be super cool to read about.
With the money she got from my Robin.
Right, that was another really good full circle moment.
I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
I actually, for a while there, I was like, wait, did this fucker actually leave her everything?
No, she made it so.
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense.
I like the fact that she stole the money back.
It was so good. It was really good.
And it's gonna be used for whatever. That was the funniest thing ever.
It was so good.
Oh, it was so satisfying. I think it was more satisfying that he was defeated again, even though he was dead. Like, there was another fuck you in the face.
Yeah.
That he couldn't do anything about. And that made me happy.
Me too. So that's like, it's too bad he isn't around to see it. But
but like, you can imagine the reaction.
Of course. I was satisfied with that for sure. Anyways, after Dorian kills the king, well, he kills him actually in a very annoying way. He explodes the tower, essentially. The castle is made out of glass, and he explodes the glass, so they all fall down, which was kind of stupid of Dorian, but I think he couldn't control himself, you know. I think he's still so
angry, resentful, and it's also metaphoric in a way, like the kingdom is shattered.
Yeah, and also, like, Dorian, I feel like he still can't literally control his powers.
Of course.
So that
also
part.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Aelin helps them out. She lessens the blow, so they obviously survive. But she also addresses the kingdom. She tells them that, you know, she's Aelin and the Dorian's now their king, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, when they wake up, it's also like a beautiful moment when she goes and she talks to Dorian, and they have like a heart-to-heart. So cute. And Chaol, he's now paralyzed, sadly.
From the waist down, and he's going with the female guard's name is again...
Nesrin.
With Nesrin to the lands where he's going to be healed.
Yeah, where they have like proper healers to help him.
So we'll see how that's gonna work.
That's gonna be... I have to tell you this. So look, the next book...
Is that the healer that she spared is going to help him?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the full circle. So good. And that's why you should read the prequel before we go to that book. Because
I'm
the thing
good
is...
at guessing.
Because the thing is that the next book... So the next book, it's called Empire of Storms. Okay?
Okay.
And then after Empire of Storms, you have Tower of Dawn. So the thing is that Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms, these two books are happening simultaneously.
What?
Yeah. So a lot of people, what they do, they read these two books together. It's like a tandem read. So you actually have online, you have instructions how to do the tandem read. So for example, you read 3 chapters from Empire of Storms, then you go to 2 chapters to Tower of Dawn. So that is like one book essentially, but we're obviously not going to be doing that because we're a podcast. And the correct way, if you're not doing a tandem read, is to do Empire of Storms first, then you go to Tower of Dawn, and then you go to Kingdom of Ash. But the thing is that a lot of people don't do this because... Of course, when you finish Empire of Storms, you want to go straight to that storyline. You know, you want to continue it. But Tower of Dawn kind of ruins that because you have to jump to another story. You know? So you're going to probably be pissed off about this.
What if we just did a tandem read?
No, because we can discuss 2 books. Like, we're discussing 1 book and it lasts for 2 hours. That's gonna last like for 4 hours. And also, it's too much information. I mean, you keep complaining about how.
Okay,
you know,
okay, you made your point. You're gonna tell me
Yeah.
how I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this way.
Okay.
I'll listen to the expert.
And guys, like, if you're reading for the first time and if you're annoyed that you have to go to Tower of Dawn, don't be, because Tower of Dawn is one of the best books in the series. It's really well written, and the world building is even better because we go to a completely different continent. It's so good, and everything comes full circle in the Kingdom of Ash again, and it's just really good.
Anyways, overall, I think this was the best book.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Even though I am unsatisfied about my ship, I can mourn, I can let it go, I see where this is going. Maybe I'll even support the Dorian ship in the long run, who knows?
So when it comes to like my book order from favorite to least favorite, right? So this is definitely like the first one. Queen of Shadows, my favorite.
Out of all of them? Or
No,
just...
no, the ones that we just read so far.
Okay.
So far, it's Queen of Shadows. Then it's Heir of Fire, the other one. Then it's the first book, Throne of Glass, because it's in the introduction. And then the second book. Okay, the second book is my least favorite, if I'm completely honest. Well, with you, if I remember correctly, let me see if I do. So it's Queen of Shadows now, your favorite. Then the second book.
Yes, because of my ship.
Yeah. And then the first and the third book, you said that they're kind of
They're
there.
there. But I think this one was actually my... The first book, I got annoyed with the healing journey, I'll be
I
honest.
get it. It was a bit longish in that department, but it was so necessary.
Yeah, it was in a way necessary.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it, guys.
Yay, we're finished!
Finally. Thank you for tuning in, of course. We're coming back next week with Empire of Storms. So super excited about
Next
that.
week already?
Of course.
Jesus!
If something happens, like, just so you know, the next episode is gonna be Empire of Storms. So expect that. I think it's gonna be next week. If we fail, like, just, you know, be patient a little bit, but I think we're gonna manage it. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe to this channel if you can, rate it, comment, share, whatever.
Tell us what were your favorite parts, what are you expecting, and remember, no spoilers, I haven't read ahead.
But I didn't ask you, what do you expect?
As I told you, the Dorian is gonna be the end ship. Endgame Dorian.
And that's it.
No, there's gonna be a lot of more trauma involved. She's gonna fuck it up a bit more, complicate it a bit more. Probably gonna get a new male character now that Rowan is like been in 2 books. That's like a bit overrated. But I'm curious about that healer now. And I also expect now Chaol to end up with Nestran, I think.
Okay.
Will make sense with the positions and everything. Kind of full circle moment.
Yeah.
But I'm here for the friendships though. I really hope we get to see more of that. And I'm gonna pay more attention now to the Witches timeline. Apparently here I was a bit of a letdown. So let's see where this is going.
Thank you. I appreciate that because The Witch is like my favorite.
Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Oh my god, I have so much reading to do.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Bye.